Hi there, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. For today's Pilates class, our focus is triangulation, learning to orient yourself on the mat. Finding your inner triangle located between the two hip bones and the pubic bone, learning how to intuitively stabilize the pelvis, using that as a foundation for strong, powerful movements on the mat, and also a way to forge a deeper connection to our core. Today's movements are small, but they are very powerful and intense. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify your movements if you need to, and pause the stream if you need to take a rest. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to set up for today's class lying down on the back, and in fact, we're going to be spending most of our time low to the back, most of it on our back in a supine position. Ease your way down, bending the knees, connecting the soles of the feet to the mat, as if you were setting up a bridge line. Arms are long and relaxed at your side, palms down into the mat, and I want you to connect to that inner triangle. Think of it located between your two hip bones and your pubic bone. Try to have it stable and parallel to the floor, so not dipping lower on one side. Close your eyes and take your focus inward and just start connecting to your breath. Holding that neutral pelvic line, inhaling and exhaling. Then every time you exhale, I want you to start thinking of contracting your core and lengthening your spine, holding that neutral position through the pelvis. Every time you exhale, contract your abs and think of lengthening the whole spine, tailbone, all the way to the nape of your neck. Now we're going to start adding a pelvic tilt. Find your neutral spine position with a little space between your lower back and the mat. On an exhale, you're going to tilt to the 12 o'clock position so that your lower back imprints into the mat and you find quite a deep connection to the core. Pause there. Inhale to bring your pelvis back to neutral. And then exhale to tilt down to the 6 o'clock position, getting a nice little stretch into the lower belly area and increasing that arch in the spine. Inhale to come back to neutral. Let's play between that 12 and that 6 o'clock position. Exhaling for 12. Imprint your lower back. Find that deep connection to the core. Inhale to come back to neutral. Exhale to tilt down to the 6 o'clock position. Pause. Inhale to come back to neutral. Exhale, find your 12 o'clock position. Inhale for neutral. Exhale, find 6 o'clock. Find your way back to neutral. Now let's start working left to right between the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position. Find your neutral pelvic line and then dip your right hip bone at the 3 o'clock line. Inhale, bring it back to neutral. Dip your left hip bone. That's the 9 o'clock position. Come back to neutral. Now keep oscillating between the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position, holding for a few seconds before finding your way back to a neutral pelvis. And it's not a huge movement, just a small tilt, dropping the one hip bone lower than the other, so that the sacrum bone on the opposite side of the body almost wants to begin disengaging from the mat. Let's do one more tilt to each side, and then we're going to play between all 4 points, and we're going to trace a full pelvic circle. Think 360 degrees. Begin in your neutral spine position. Tilt to the 12 o'clock position, and then slowly, with control, start tilting to the right to the 1 o'clock position, then the 2 o'clock position, then the 3 o'clock position, then dipping down to the 4 o'clock position, the 5 o'clock position, the 6 o'clock position. Start peeling up on the left, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11, 12, back to neutral. So now you've traced a full 360-degree rotation through the pelvis. Let's move in the opposite direction. Find your neutral spine, tilt to 12 o'clock, and then begin slowly tilting to the left, to the 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, up on the right, 5 o'clock, 4, 3, 2, 1, back to neutral. Let's do one more in each direction. Tilt to 12, start moving to the right, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, up along the left, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12, back to neutral spine. One more, moving in the opposite direction. Tilt to 12 o'clock, and then slowly start dipping your pelvis to the left. Find 11 o'clock, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, up along the right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, back to 12, find neutral. Beginning in neutral spine, take a big breath in, scoop, tilt to the 12 o'clock position, peel your weight just off the shoulders and pause here, finding a strong connection to the core, softly drawing up along the inner thighs, anchoring through your feet, hovering your fingertips off the mat and reaching long and lengthened as if you wanted to use your fingertips to touch the edge of your mat. Hold for me. Peel back down to the mat. We're coming up into a bridge articulation. Check that your feet are not too far away. Scooch them in closer towards your bum line so that at the apex of your bridge, you've got your knee and your ankle in alignment. Begin in neutral spine. Find your neutral pelvis. Tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position. Imprint your lower back into the mat. And then start peeling up one vertebra at a time, keeping your pelvis stable on both sides. So don't drop one hip bone lower than the other. Come up nice and high on the shoulder blades, but try not to arc through the spine today. I want you to keep me a nice long line from your breastbone all the way through the belly, through the top of your legs, making a long line from your chest bone towards the kneecaps. Peel back down with the same amount of control, reconnecting each little nodule of the spine as you come down with control, not only through the spine, but also the ribs. Almost rounding out your lower back and hollowing out your belly before you tilt your pelvis back to the neutral spine position. Peel up again. And this time, as you're peeling up one rib at a time, don't just think of each nodule of your spine. Think of the entire back and rib cage. So first connect the lower back and its associated ribs, then the middle back and its associated ribs, the upper back and its associated ribs, and then come up nice and high on the rib cage. Think of not only stabilizing the pelvis, but also having your whole trunk and rib cage nice and stable. Peel back down, thinking of that control through the rib cage and the spine. Don't rush your descent. Feel the ribs, feel the spine as you reconnect to the mat with control. Less glutes and more control through the spine, the ribs, and the core. We're going to peel up one more time, hold it, and then we'll start playing with our pelvic tilt. Peel up, find that control through the rib cage, the spine, and the core. Find that neutral pelvic line, so your triangle is perfectly aligned. You're not dropping lower. Keep your chin tucked towards the chest. And then dip your right hip bone lower than the left. Pause. Inhale, come back to center. Dip the left hip bone. So now you're emulating that little pelvic side-to-side tilt that we played with from a supine position. You're now executing from the bridge line. Stay nice and high on the shoulder blades as you softly dip off center, holding for at least 3 or 4 seconds before tilting on the other side. Every time finding your neutral line first before dipping and holding. Let's do one more on each side. Come back to your neutral position. Then I'd like you to dip the right hip bone. Pause there and think of rolling down on the right side of your spine. So you're coming down off center. Round and release the lower back. Find your way to neutral. You're still off center. Then tilt back to your 12 o'clock position and roll back up on the right side of your spine, not rushing as you come back up. Find your way back to neutral spine and repeat on the left. Drop your left hip bone, find your drop position, hold it, pause, and then slowly start rolling down on the left side of your spine. Feeling the ribs, feeling the side of the spine as you come down. Ease your way into neutral. Tilt back to the 12 o'clock position. You still off center to the left and peel up on the left side of the spine. Find your way back to neutral. Let's do one more on each side. Drop on the right and then slowly peel down, feeling the rib cage, feeling the side of the right spine as you come down on the right. Ease your way back into a neutral line, still off center to the right. Then tilt your pubis to the 12 o'clock position and start rolling up on the right side of your spine. Controlling through the ribs and the spine, ease your way back to neutral. One more time on the left. Dip your left hip bone and start peeling down slow and controlled on the left side of your spine. Find your way into neutral, still off center to the left. Tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position and start rolling up on the left side of the spine. Slow and controlled. Remember, our movements are small but intense. Find your way back to a neutral pelvis. So now the left and the right side on the hip bones are stable. And peel down, coming down with center alignment, feeling that control through the rib cage and the core as you reconnect to the mat. Find your way back into neutral. Tuck the hands behind your head in a surrender-like fashion, interlacing the hands and locking them into position. Keep your elbows nice and wide. Tilt your pelvis to 12 o'clock, scoop to peel up and hold that line, reaching long and lengthened through your elbows and finding that strong connection to your core. Peel softly back down to the mat. Now start executing with your breath. Exhale as you come up, trying to hold for a few seconds. Inhale to float back down. Exhale to scoop. Inhale to float. Exhale to tilt and scoop. Find that contraction. Think of softly drawing up along the inner thighs. Almost think of trying to squeeze your two sit bones closer together. It's going to be impossible, but just the thought of it is going to give you a nice, strong connection to your core. Last one. Float softly back down to the mat. Arms are long and lengthened at your side, palms down. Draw the legs into a little tabletop position, the feet and the knees softly clipped together. Don't pull the knees too close to your chest. Keep them softly stacking over your hips. Try to hold a neutral pelvic line and draw or contract your core. Hold for 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Softly connect the feet to the mat. We're coming up into a modified 100. You can open up the feet and the knees so that they're just inside of hip width distance apart. Begin in neutral. Tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position. Imprint your lower back. Scoop to pilo. Inhale for a count of 5. Exhale for a count of 5 as you vigorously beat the arms up and down, reaching long and lengthened through the fingertips. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep your core contracted. Make sure that you're not Mexican waving through the hands. Keep the arms locked in position and hinge from the shoulder. Give me 2 more. Float softly back down to the mat. Take a recovery breath or 2. And then draw your legs back into table. Feet and knees softly clip together and place both hands, palms away from you. Push against the thighs, resist with the hands, and hold your neutral spine position. Keep a strong contraction in the core. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Float softly back down to the mat. Take a recovery breath or 2, and then we'll add a progression onto the last movement. Draw your legs back into table. Feet and knees softly clip together. Push your hands against the knees and resist. And every time you exhale, I want you at the same time to tilt from your neutral pelvis to a 12 o'clock position so that your lower back imprints and you find that strong contraction in your core. Hold for about 5 seconds and then inhale to come back to neutral and ease up that tension through the hands. So every time you exhale, you push with the hands, resist with the knees and tilt to the 12 o'clock position, imprinting your lower back into the mat, finding that strong core contraction, then inhaling to come back to neutral. Inhale for neutral. Exhale to tilt, scoop, imprint, push and resist. Inhale for neutral. Let's do 2 more like this. Then we'll come back to our 100 and we'll play it up. As you complete your last one, you can either hold the tabletop position and execute your 100 from here, or you can connect the feet to the mat and play where we were in the previous round. Pick your leg position, scoop to peel up off the shoulders. We're going to do 5 100s. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 more to go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Softly brace against the shins, hugging your knees in towards the chest. Inhale, open up the arms and the legs. Tuck back in. Either stay here or swing or scoop the arms around as you execute your double leg stretch. Let's do 4 more and then we'll take it into a single leg stretch. As you complete your last one, use your left hand to brace against the ankle or the shin, the right hand on the inside of the knee, and then cycle through. Holding your scoop position, pelvis is neutral on both sides, so you're not dipping lower on one side. Exhale as you tap your toe. Inhale as you transition. Come back into your table hold and give me 5 more 100s. If you're feeling the head, you can tuck the hands behind the head in a surrender-like fashion and just hold here, holding that strong contraction in the core. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slowly peel back down to the mat. Maybe cradle rock from side to side, just softly bracing around the knees or the shins. We're going to break down a little rollover and we'll play with it today. For the rollover, I'd like you to keep your arms long and lengthened at your side, or you can tuck your hands palms down underneath your bottom, making a little diamond frame between the 2 hands for support. Float your legs softly up towards the ceiling. That's your 90 line. And at first, all I want you to focus on is a little reach through your toes. So it's a tiny movement. You're starting in a neutral pelvis, and then you just tilting your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position so that it feels like your toes are just reaching long and lengthened towards the ceiling, and you're getting a nice little bit of work into the lower belly area. It's a small little movement. Tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position and think of somebody holding onto your toes and pulling your toes up to the ceiling. You're going to give me 4 more like this, then you're either going to stay here or you're going to work the next progression coming into the full rollover. If you need to drop down, take a little rest, take a look before you execute. Starting at your 90 line, you're going to think of that little pull of your toes up to the ceiling and use it to come into a plow line. So you're peeling up through the ribs and the spine, coming up into a plow. You can use your hands on the mat or maybe hands to support your lower back if you need it. Your feet are still together at this stage. Then open up your feet, bring your legs into parallel, brace into your heels and roll down one vertebra at a time, feeling the ribs on either side, keeping your pelvis nice and stable as you come down. As you reconnect your lower back, circle the legs out and bring the feet together along the midline of the body, coming back to your start position. So starting with the feet together along the midline. Tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position and reach through your toes. Peel up into your plow. Separate the feet. Come back into parallel. Brace into your feet as you roll down slowly with control. As your lower back connects to the mat, circle your feet around to join back together along the midline of the body. Let's do 3 more. Tilt to 12 o'clock, reach through your toes, peel up into your plow line, pausing. Separate the feet, brace into your heels, peel down slowly with control through the ribs and the spine. As you reconnect your lower rib cage to the mat and your lower back, circle the legs around and come back to your start position. 2 more to go. Reach long and lengthen through the toes as you tilt, peeling up into your plow. Separate the feet into parallel, brace into the heels as you peel down slowly with control, coming down with the same amount of weight on both sides of the spinal column. So think of the foundation work that we did right in the beginning. When you're coming down, make sure that you're not favoring one side of the spine. So I want you to come down through the middle of your spine with the same amount of weight on the left and the right side of the spine as you come down. 1 more like this, then you'll change the leg line up. Coming into plow, separating the feet, rolling down with control. Now let's change the leg line. Begin with the feet slightly separated in parallel and brace into your heels. Pike up and come into your plow line from here. Then bring the feet together, soften the toes, come down along the center line. Once you've connected your lower back to the mat, circle the feet out and bring them back into a braced parallel position. Think of softly pushing off your hands if you need to as you pike up into your plow line. Softly bring the feet together along the midline of the body. Peel down through the spine with control. Circle the legs around to come back to your parallel line. Let's do 1 more. Think of lifting your tailbone towards the ceiling as you peel up into your plow. Bring the 2 feet together, soften your toe line. Come down center aligned through the spine. As you come down, circle the feet. Come back to your parallel position, hold it. And just reach long and lengthen for your toes and hold a nice contraction through the core. Hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hug your knees in softly towards your chest. Give yourself a little shake out. We're going to use that tailbone lift. And you can almost think of it as a jackknife married with a shoulder stand. So starting in your neutral line at 90, you're going to think of just piking up high onto the shoulders and coming back to 90. Piking up high, coming back to your start position. Just shoot for 5 with control. Begin at your 90 line. Think of somebody pulling your toes up to the ceiling, coming up nice and high on the shoulder blades, nodding your chin towards your chest. So don't look to the side of the room when you're playing. Let's do 2 more. Last one. From here, we're going to come into a tight little ball. We'll roll like a ball. Think of hugging your knees and your shins in towards your nose as you rock up and down, trying to give me as tight a ball as you can. Round out on the spine so that you're not jarring the spine as you rock up and down. Last one. Come into a seated frame, finding a little diamond frame through your legs. Think butterfly, but the heels of the feet are slightly further away from your perineum so that you've got a little diamond frame between the two legs. Tuck the hands behind you, interlace them, lock them into position. Elbows are nice and wide. You're going to give me a soft rotation to the left. Come back. Soft rotation to the right. If this feels uncomfortable, you can tuck into easy sit, one leg in front of the other, and you can execute your little twist from here. It's a slow, controlled movement, and I want you to just come over as far as is comfortable for you. If you find that keeping the hands behind the head feels really uncomfortable, you can modify your movement and maybe give me long arms to the side. Play where you're comfortable. Let's add 3 little pulses. So you're going to give me pulse, 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 come back. Pulse, 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 come back. Pulse, 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 come back. Pulse, pulse, pulse. Let's come back to center. We're going to bring it into seal. Keep your current orientation on the mat. So you're going to lift your diamond feet. You're going to thread the hands through. You're going to tap the feet together 3 times. Roll back. Tap the feet together. Come back. All right. Let's do this. Tap, tap, tap. Rock back. Tap, tap, tap. Come back. Tap, tap, tap. Rock back. Tap, tap, tap. Come back up. 3 little taps before you roll back. 3 little taps before you come back up. Let's do one more. Last one, you're going to end on the back for me. Float softly back down onto the back, coming back to your bridge setup. Let's extend the left leg and float the right leg up to the ceiling. Arms are long and relaxed at your side, palms down, or you can tuck the hands, palms down underneath your bum. The first movement is very tiny and very subtle. You're just going to think of reaching with your toes for the ceiling so that it feels like you're tilting the pelvis with the right hip coming up just an inch higher than the left. It's a tiny little movement. Lifting up, tilting the pelvis, and then coming back to your neutral line. Let's use that reach as the basis for tracing a circle. So reach up high, cross over to the left, circle to the right, and come back. Reach, cross over the midline, circling out, come back. We're just going to trace 5 circles in this direction, reaching high through the toes first before you cross over the midline of the body. Last one, and then we're going to move in the opposite direction. Reach high, take it to the right before crossing over left and coming back. Reach high. Look for that length through the toes first, tilting slightly higher through your right hip bone before tracing that circle. Place both feet on the mat. Take a recovery breath. Let's repeat on the other side. So extending your supported leg nice and lengthened. Take the other leg up to the ceiling. You're going to reach through the toes. At the same time that you're reaching through the toes, you're almost tilting the pelvis higher on the left side. And you might find that this movement feels more comfortable on one side than it does on the other. Don't stress about it. Just notice it. All right, let's use that reach as the basis for tracing our circle. Reach up, cross over to the right, circle out, come back to neutral. Reach up high, cross over the midline of the body, and circle back. Reach, cross over. One more in this direction, then we'll change the direction. Come back to your starting line, reach high, take it to the left before circling out to the right. Reach, Let's do 2 more on this side. Last one. Ease your way back to neutral. Bend the knees, connect the soles of the feet. Maybe cradle rock out if you need to. We're going to use that roll over that we played with earlier on. So think of coming into your plow line and rolling back or articulating back down to the mat. But we're going to start playing with that slightly off-center movement that we used from the bridge lines earlier on. So rolling down on the left and the right side of the body, and we're going to play it up. All right. Begin by finding your 90 line. So think of your roll over, starting with the toes looking towards the ceiling. Tilt your pelvis to the 12 o'clock position. Reach with your toes up for the ceiling, pushing up into your plow line. And then as you come down, think of rolling down on the right side of your spine. Then circle out and roll back up on the left side. Roll back down on the right. Circle out with the feet and roll up on the other side. We're going to just stay with a foundational movement today, thinking of finding your corkscrew. If you want, you can start playing with the foot line, heeling and toeing out as you roll up and down, rolling down on one side of the spine, circling the legs, and then rolling up on the other side of the spine. Rinsing and repeating, maybe playing with your toe line. Let's do 1 more to each side. Last one. Find your way to a neutral spine position and just use 1 rock to come into the seated pose. Sweep the legs underneath you and ease your way into an elbow plank. So find a 4-point kneeling frame on the mat. Drop down onto the forearms. Extend the legs behind you. Find that neutral line through your pelvis. Then dip your right hip bone. Come back to neutral pelvis. Dip the left hip bone. Keep oscillating side to side. Keep nice and strong through the core and just tilt your pelvis side to side. One more to each side. Ease your way softly onto the belly. Bend your elbows, stack your forearms, stacking one palm on top of the other. Relax your forehead to the back of your hands so that your neckline is in neutral, not your chin. Your forehead, keep your forehead on your back of the hands and just lift both legs simultaneously for me, pausing here for 2 or 3 seconds before floating down. You can keep the legs in a soft parallel line. Think of reaching long and lengthen through the toes as if you were almost trying to tap the wall behind you. And then float softly down. To make the legs lift up, think of drawing up from your kneecaps along the quad and the hamstring. Float softly back down. And then let's reverse the exercise. Keeping your feet soft and relaxed to the mat. Float the arms alongside the body, back of the hands connected to the mat, palms looking up. Start with your forehead connected to the mat. We're going to replicate that movement on the front side of the body. Keep your feet connected to the mat. Find a little marble underneath your nose. Roll up into a baby cobra line. Bottom ribs still connected to the mat. Think of extending through the spine. And then peel back down to your start position. Find a rolling rhythm of your own. Peeling up 1 rib at a time. 1 vertebra at a time, finding your baby cobra line before peeling back down. And pause making your back work. So looking for that extension through the spine as you hold the frame for maybe 3 or 4 seconds before peeling back down. Let's do 2 more like this. Then we're going to clip the 2 movements together and we'll work a Cobra Swan hybrid. Bend the elbows and place the palms alongside your chest with your fingertips just in front of your shoulder line. Think Cobra and then we'll begin to play. Yeah. So find that marble underneath your nose. Roll it away, peeling up into a baby cobra line. And then maybe hover the legs behind you so that you're in a modified hybrid. Think cobra and locust. Peel softly back down to the mat. Now try to execute the movement simultaneously. So as you're peeling up through the head and the trunk, float the legs just behind you. So you're almost giving me a hollowed out shape and you're tucking the elbows in towards the center line. Floating back down. And if you find that holding that hollow frame, that hollowed spine is too much for you, give me more of a parallel line. Maybe just hovering your nose with your bottom 3 ribs heavy into the mat and the feet just an inch or 2 so that there's a longer length through the lower back. Play with it. And then you can start getting creative and we can come into a little modified rocking motion. Extending the arms long and lengthened in front of you. Think of that hollow frame as you rock up and down, making your arms heavy to the floor as the feet come up, and then your feet heavy to the floor as the arms come up. Keep your breath flowing. Ease your way softly back onto the belly. Palms facing down into the mat and the bridges of your feet into the mat. We're going to play with a little swimming-like motion, but we're going to look for more work through the back today. So starting with your palms and your feet connected to the mat and your forehead connected to the mat, we're going to do opposite arm and leg. Find that little marble underneath your nose, start rolling it away, and at the same time float the right arm and the left leg off the mat, pushing off your left palm and the right leg to get as much of a bow shape through the spine as you can manage. Hold. Keep pushing down through your stabilizing arm and your stabilizing leg. Peel back down. Give me a recovery breath or 2. And then take it to the other side. As you roll the marble away, you lift the left arm and the right leg, looking for that bow shape through the back. So coming up quite high today through the arm and the back leg, pushing off your stabilizing arm and leg. Let's do that one more time to each side. Looking for that stability through the pelvis as you play. Take it down. Let's play on the other side. Ease your way softly back down to the mat. Take a recovery breath or 2. And then you're going to take it into a little locust swim or a Superman swim. So find your locust line and then vigorously beat the opposite arm and leg up and down. Inhaling for 2, exhaling for 2. So if the bow shape is too much, give me more of a Superman line with your bottom 3 ribs connected to the mat and your line closer to the mat. Play where you're comfortable. Then softly peel back down to the mat. Bend your elbows, place your palms alongside the bosom, round out in a cat stretch as you come through 4-point kneeling. Then push back into an extended child, big toes together, knees softly splayed out. You're going to gently change your orientation on the mat, coming to a seated, think of it as a thunderbolt, then drop onto your right bum bone. Both knees are facing to the left with your feet draped to the left. So your pelvis is slightly tilted, and you're going to reach with your left hand for the ankle bone of the left leg. Just think at first of just finding length through the spine as you find your seat. Try to lengthen the lower belly area. Think of your whole trunk and spine being pulled up towards the ceiling. Then float your right arm overhead, palm is looking in to the center line, and try to lengthen through your fingertips. Reach as tall as you can towards the ceiling. Then try to keep that length through the muscles as you drop the bones heavy down towards the mat. Keeping that length through the arm, dip off the center line. You can bend the elbow on the left, so if you wanted to draw the elbow closer towards your hip line on your bottom arm, and keep looking for that length through the top arm as you come slightly off center. Keep that arm long and lengthened. Ease your way back to the center line, and then give me a T arm, reaching long and lengthened through your fingertips and keeping the palm aligned with your shoulder. Then piston or cycle the arms back in and repeat the exercise, reaching long and lengthened. Look for that length through the spine. Reach with your fingertips as tall as you can. Keep the length through the muscles, but start dropping the bones towards the floor. So there's a little bit of opposition happening in the stretch. Keep that length in the arm as you come off the center line. Hold. Keep your breath flowing. Come back to your start position. Reach the arm long and lengthened. Piston back in and change, finding your little side mermaid on the other side. So dropping down onto your left bum bone, both legs are swept off center to the right. Reach with your right hand for the ankle bone of the right leg. Find your position on the mat first. At first, just find that length through the spine so you're not collapsing the body. You're lengthening as much as you can through the trunk and the spine. Float the left arm overhead, palm is looking into the center line. Reach as long as you can through the fingertips. Hold or maintain that length through the muscles while you make the bones heavy to the floor. Keep that length through the arm as you dip off the center line to the right. Maybe softening your anchoring elbow, opening up through the rib cage and the whole meridian on the left. Come back to center. Give me a T frame, tracking the movement of your palm with your eyes. Then bend the elbow, piston the arm back in. Look for that length through the spine first. Reach long and lengthen through the fingertips. Keep that length through the muscles, but drop the bones towards the floor. Keep the length through the arm as you come off the center line, opening up through the rib cage on the left and the whole meridian of the arm. Come back to center. Find your T frame, look long and lengthen, palm more or less in line with your shoulder. Piston your way back in and ease your way into a modified haunch line. Think of the weight bearing being on your toes. The knees are softly splayed out. You can either balance your palms on your knees or you can keep the fingertips connected to the floor. Find your balance first. Weight resting on the forefront of your foot, inner thighs working. Drop both hands to the mat, maybe just fingertips or the whole palm, and give me a forward fold, keeping that soft V position on the legs. And then roll up from your Pilates V, hollowing out your belly, restacking and realigning your spine. Come down in that little frog position, maybe brushing the hands on the top of your thighs, maybe allowing for a little bit more distance between the feet. Drop your fingertips or your palms to the mat, fold forward, anchoring through the whole foot, but keeping the turnout position. Hollow out through your belly, roll back up, articulating with control through the spine and trying to find that little triangle and keeping it stable. Keeping your triangle as stable as you can, float back down into your little V line. Drop your hands to the mat. Plant your feet firmly into the mat. Keep the turnout position. Hollow out your belly. Draw up along the inner thighs. Pull up strongly from the pelvic floor towards your waistline, keeping your pelvis as stable as you can. Let's do that one more time. Find your little haunch position, little frog line on the mat. Drop your fingertips or your palms to the mat. Connect the whole sole of the foot, keeping your little Pilates V turnout position. Then draw up along the inner thighs, keep the pelvis stable, find that contraction through the core as you peel back up to your start position. That ends our class for today. Thank you so much for coming out and joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's class. Give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Remember to share your comments below. And I shall see you all for yoga on the mat tomorrow. Till then, keep it light.